Hey there, I'm Rena, owner and designer at the Rustic Horseshoe. In this quick tutorial, I'm going to show you how to turn a round hoof on one of my Pudgy Plushies to a faux cloven hoof. The cloven hoof can be rather tricky, the one that's sewn and designed to look like a cloven hoof. And the round hoof is an easier option for a beginner or confident beginner somewhere in there, or even if you're just looking for something a little faster and easier and don't want to fiddle with the cloven hoof. You can still make the appearance of the cloven hoof by soft sculpting. So this is what the round hoof looks like. You would make your plushie, Pudgy Plushie with the round hoof option that's included. And then with some soft sculpting, we're going to make it look like a cloven hoof in an easy, quicker fashion than sewing it as a cloven hoof. So pretty easy. You can also decide if you want to do that after you've sewn the round hoof, but of course you have to decide at the beginning if you're going to sew the round hoof or sew the cloven hoof. But if you're doing the round hoof, you can then dive into this soft sculpting option for a quick and easy and cute cloven hoof option. So let's get started.
All right, you have the round hoof and one that's already been soft sculpted here to be a faux cloven hoof. All right, to start with soft sculpting, I like to leave the side opening open in the arm or leg so that I can stuff more stuffing into it after I've soft sculpted, because sometimes it shifts and it just gives a better finish. So I leave that open to revisit it after I'm done sculpting. All right, so find the center of the front of your leg. Use a long doll needle and matching thread. Of course, this one matches, but for tutorial purposes, I'm going to use this lighter thread so you can see it better. So you take a long length of thread, fold it in half, insert the ends of the thread through the eye of your needle so you have a loop here at the end, and then you insert a little bit of that into the fabric along the seam, pull it to where you're almost got it through, and then you're going to insert the needle into the loop and pull to secure the thread to the fabric. And again, this is on the front center of the leg and hoof. All right, and then you're going to find where you want to, how far you want to bring down the toes of the cloven hoof. I like to pass the halfway point, so if you were just to look at it and do halfway, that'd be about there. Okay. And that's certainly sufficient. I did that with this one, and then I did another one where I went past the halfway point just a little bit, and I kind of like that look a little better. They both look really cute. All right, so insert your needle at the center halfway or so point, bring it through back at where you started at the top where the hoof meets the leg at the center, and you're going to pull snug, and you're going to make this same pass about 3 to 4, possibly even 5 times, pulling snug each time until you have the look that you want and it's holding well. Sorry, I'm in kind of a tight space here, and getting this all on video is sometimes a little difficult, but you'll be able to see what I'm doing here. You'll get the picture. All right, so I'm pulling tight, feeling as I go. I'm going to make another pass. Okay, so you can see how it's taking shape. You can kind of see how the fabric's bunching a little bit where it's being soft sculpted. That's where stuffing in later will help round that out. Okay, so if it's firm and looks like you want it to look, you've made 3 or 4 passes. If you want it to be a little bit more, you can make another pass or 2. Then you insert your needle where you started, pull it along the edge there, and tie your knot. You could finish here if you'd like. I'm going to leave that long because I'm going to make a web inside the foot to help hold that stuffing in after I stuff more in. So I'm going to revisit that. Okay. So now I'm going to stuff more stuffing into the toes to make them more firm and kind of round out some of the bunching. And you can kind of feel from the outside where there might be little divots and where you could use more stuffing. Just stuff little bits in, push it into the toes until you get the firmness and roundness that you'd like. All right, and in the process of this, it could have made and shifted more of your stuffing, made the stuffing in the legs a little more wonky. So after you get the toes filled in, then make sure you adjust the stuffing in the leg, move it around a little bit if you need to, carefully, not like pulling it out, just kind of shifting it and massaging it. Okay, and once you get the leg back to stuffed how you like it after filling in the toes, what I suggest doing is making a web across the top of the hoof. This is going to help keep the stuffing in the toes, especially if the rest of the leg or a portion of the leg is stuffed lightly for movement and has more likelihood of the stuffing shifting. So I made the thread long enough that I can do the soft sculpting and this with one piece of thread. If you need to start with a new piece of thread, that's totally fine. But what we're going to do with the dull needle is go back and forth along the seam where the hoof meets the leg. And we're going to go back and forth, sometimes straight across, sometimes at, different angles, only like covering just a little corner of it. And then so you're moving around the hoof as you go. So that's not just directly straight across and like in a T or a cross, but more of a web. So if you just picture making a web as you're doing this and moving around the hoof, then you've got the picture of what's going on inside there. So continue doing this around the hoof until you feel comfortable that there's enough of a web, enough thread in there to help hold the stuffing in place so that it won't easily shift out of the hoof. And then tie your knot. Insert your needle at the knot, pull it out an inch or so away, and trim the excess or tail of the thread. And there you have your cloven hoof. Now, if you have the side of the arm open, if you did that option, you want to go ahead and stitch that up now, arm or leg. And this is just the regular ladder stitch that in any of the tutorials it's covered. It's what you do to close all of the openings in the body, the leg, attach the eyelids. So it should be something you're fairly familiar with. If not, the tutorial is on my website. It's also in every pattern for how to ladder stitch. Every of my patterns, normal ones, there's a ladder stitch tutorial at the end. All right, so finish stitching that closed, and then you repeat this with the rest of the leg's arms. And you've got faux cloven hooves made from round hooves, and so it's a little easier to do, and they are pudgy and super cute. And then another finishing touch that I'm doing here is I'm fluffing the fabric, the minky fibers from the seam. It's not required. I like how it just kind of finishes and hides the seams just a little bit. I mean, the seams aren't completely hidden, but it does help blend them. And it doesn't necessarily take too long, just the tip of a needle and wiggle it around. There you go, you've got some easy cloven hooves.